Mystic Michaela, spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today, talking about trauma and how it affects your aura. So inauthentic aura colors related to trauma. I've talked about inauthentic aura colors before, but not in this way. But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. And speaking of inauthentic and trauma, this has happened before. Mm-hmm. I got another nasty DM because they said, I think it's been 2 or 3 weeks that I've not said the word Jumanji.
It's true. You've dropped it.
I know.
Wow.
And I apologize.
Slacking.
The DM was from a guy named Tyler. Tyler, just saying it's from a guy named Tyler.
Was he like, hey, bro?
He might have had a hey, bro in there. And he's basically said, look, it's been like 3 episodes since you said Jumanji. Could you throw a few more Jumanjis
hey, bro,
in there?
Throw a few Jumanjis.
Be a little more authentic, and do that.
Okay.
But all right.
Good to know.
Yeah. Anyway. So speaking of inauthentic colors, have I ever worn an inauthentic color?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like with all of us from time to time, and I'll talk about this, but episode 30 is when I really deep dived into like what inauthentic aura colors are, the way I see them, and how they relate to us kind of generally. And there's kind of like the lighter way it can affect us, and then today I'm going into like the deeper way it can affect us. So I feel like over the years, of course, like I've seen you kind of maybe pick up a little green or whatever. But your issue is more you become imbalanced versus inauthentic.
Right. And I definitely didn't pick up any green when we went to Helen, Georgia. Right. As we told everyone last week. I was hoping to pick some up, but I didn't.
I know. But the best aura color you are is yourself. Like, which really just means the best person you are is who you are authentically. And I think a lot of times these inauthentic aura colors, so I'm glad you brought that up in a jestful way without being serious at all, and here I go.
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people are like, oh, I wish I were more this or that. Like, people look at somebody else and they're covetous of that person's vibe. Right. And really that energy is better spent cultivating your own vibe and getting authentic in your own self. That's where that energy. So whenever you feel that, kind of be like, ooh, all right, no, I'm going to take that and invest it back.
Yeah. And look, I'm going to sing your praises here. Please let me. I know you're indigo and you don't like that. And I've done this before on the podcast, and I've said this before, but it was, and I'm still in awe of it, a huge breakthrough for you when you were able to tell the difference in someone's aura between their authentic colors and their inauthentic colors. That, to me, was one of the biggest breakthroughs that you've ever had. And it impresses me to this day.
Well, it was from spirit. It was a spiritual download.
I know, but you put in the work. I know you're indigo and you don't like to take any credit, but you put in the work to do that.
Right.
In the beginning, and I've said this before on the podcast, I know, but I want to say it again. I know, in the beginning, maybe you didn't. Maybe you just told someone they were purple, blue, and that's what they were.
Yeah, several years ago, because I've grown. Yeah.
Right, but as you have grown and read people and put in all the work that you've put in, you've been able to figure out when the color is inauthentic.
Yeah. And
that, to me, is incredible. It's... I can't do it myself. I don't know if anyone could do it. I mean, I'm sure someone can, but to me, it's very impressive, and I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, auras for me, it's a metaphor tool. I see people in color. It doesn't even matter what the colors are. It's just my way of seeing them so that I can get them to see themselves. That's really what it is. Right. But it's colors are fun. So when they showed me inauthentic colors. It's just a metaphor, they're trying to be somebody they're not, for different reasons. And today we'll talk about those with trauma. But seeing them that one day, it was like a spiritual download day. It was whoa, okay. And I started calling them, I used to call them, I think, environmental.
Yeah.
I used to call them environmental, and now and then I changed it to inauthentic because I kind of had to coin it myself because there was nothing out there at the time about this kind of stuff.
Right.
That helped me figure out what it is.
Yeah, and look, I might be biased here, but I don't think anybody else is doing it. In the entire world, I think nobody else is doing it, or at least it's not as good as you. But I am biased.
All right.
I am biased. All right. So what if, you have someone in your life that maybe, is rubbing you the wrong way at this time, maybe a friend, maybe your husband, maybe a boyfriend, maybe your dog, maybe your cat, maybe your guinea pig. Maybe they've brought on a inauthentic color. Is that possible?
Yeah. So the thing with inauthentic, it doesn't mean fake. It doesn't mean you're being like a fake person. Right. It just means you're watching somebody do something in a way that it actually can feel irritating to watch somebody have an inauthentic aura color. You're watching them. It can feel like they're not telling you everything. It can feel like there's a distance between you and them. It can feel like they're hiding something from you. Usually they don't know they're doing this even. So you're watching them kind of struggle or be who they're not or just do different things. And you're just like, what is it about that? I can't put my finger on it. That's what it feels like when somebody has an inauthentic aura color, but they're not self-aware usually that they're doing it. Okay. So it's more kind of the vibe. All
right, so let me ask you this question. Again, I'm learning just like everyone else that's listening now. So let's say you have a boyfriend, you've had him for a few years, whatever, or a husband of years, and maybe like the last year or so or 6 months things are rocky. Could it just be that maybe there's an outside environmental thing, such as job related, health related, whatever, that's giving them this inauthentic color? Yes, and that's why they're kind of getting on your nerves now.
Yeah, like people go through phases. Yeah. And I think, for example, when I was teaching or in school, you used to call me psycho student. Right. We'll go to that because that's just funny. It's just an easy way to kind of talk about it. So when I was in undergrad and grad school, because you knew me for both, you were like, oh, they're a psycho student. And then like every semester, I was a psycho student. Like I wasn't even myself. Like I would be like finishing assignments and just doing all this stuff. And I was, well, that's what you called me. Cause I think it was annoying to you in a way, like you removed yourself from it and were like, okay, you do you, but this is like unnecessarily, the anxiety and just all. Yeah. So you noticed it and it bugged you. And,
and the good part about that is like, if you can tell them or they can figure it out that they're and become aware that they're wearing this inauthentic color.
You helped me.
They could shed it.
Yeah, you helped me. I was like, oh my God, I do. Who am I? Like, because I was wearing inauthentic yellow like during the semesters. Yeah. So I was like, who the heck am I? But then I would have a break. Okay. And then be normal again for a while and then go back to it. Yeah. But then when I was teaching full time, it was like all the time. Right. And every time, and even today, like when I go through like transitions in life or something, it's really hard for me not to pick up inauthentic yellow. So, and I think like you'll notice it too. Yeah. Like, why are you planning ahead? Why are you like you'll tell me like stop thinking about something like before it's even here in our present moment. So now that I'm aware of it, it's harder for me to put it on. And it used to be very easy for me to slip into it.
Right. Is there? Again, I'm just asking this. I don't know the answer to this. Could you wear an inauthentic color so long in your life? Let's say like for like 10 years or something.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that.
And then it becomes actually authentic?
When you're a kid. And I'm going to talk about this coming up because I have this whole theory that I came up with.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll save that.
Called accents and auras. So just basically like if you learn a language before a certain age, you won't have an accent. You won't. Like if you move to Germany when you were 6 and you're fluent in German, you won't have a German accent. But if you move when you're 30 and you're fluent in German, you're going to have an accent. Right. So it's the same thing with auras. Like if you get one before a certain age, it feels more natural to you. Okay. Yeah.
So again, this could be hugely helpful, to people.
Yes, some people are just more prone, like I am, to having an inauthentic color versus you, just because I have such critical self-worth issues that like I try to, I just automatically assume I'm not good enough. That's kind of my default mode. Whereas you don't really have that as much. You deal with it differently. You get kind of more aggressive in who you are. And I take a step back aggressively into who I am not, if that makes sense. Yeah. So some of us move forward or move more into our authenticity. And some of us become more even aggressive or more heightened versions of ourselves when dealing with stressful life situations. And some of us actually just like disappear and try to pick up other people or other methods or other energies to cope because we don't feel like we can be authentic in those situations. So it's kind of like extreme examples of just how to, when people can't cope with life.
Okay. I have one more question that keeps popping in my mind while we're doing this. So, and I don't know if you can answer it or if this is difficult. So let's say you figure out someone's wearing an inauthentic color, or maybe you can't figure it out. But how do you know like the difference between like all right, maybe this person's going through like a rough patch for a couple months. I got to stay with, like, let's say it's a significant other or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're going through a rough patch for a few months, and you just know it's in an authentic color, whatever. Or versus like someone who's like, this guy is a narcissist. You know, he's not changing that color. Like, how is there a way to tell the difference?
Well, having an inauthentic aura color doesn't mean like you're a narcissist or anything.
No, I understand. But meaning like it's just like they're wearing, let's say, an authentic red, and you know it's just a rough patch.
Yeah.
And if we can just figure this
out,
it's
their coping mechanism.
Yeah, we can get through this and move forward. You don't have to, break up or anything. Just get through that rough patch. But versus like, okay, this guy is narcissistic, malignant narcissist.
Oh, so you're like, oh, my boyfriend or my girlfriend, they must just be wearing an inauthentic aura color. That's why they're abusive towards me.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Like, no.
That's
like,
what I'm getting at.
When you're wearing an inauthentic aura color, honestly, the worst person you are is to yourself.
Okay.
So I think we've all had relationships with friends or family members or whatever. They're going through something. Maybe somebody passed and they're in kind of like a phase, or they're grieving, or they're trying out a new job, or they're doing something new and they're uncomfortable. So you give them a grace period. That's normal. And sometimes those people will be wearing an authentic aura color and you're just like, who the heck are you? Who are you hanging out with? What are you doing? What are you wearing?
Right.
Okay, like stuff like that. And you just give them a minute, let them, evolve and learn and move forward or whatever. Versus somebody, honestly, inauthentic aura color doesn't mean you're like nasty. That's a whole separate thing. Like when anybody wears one, usually if anything, they're just super annoying, or they're just kind of, they feel off or they're irritating to you, or you can tell they're more self-destructive than anything else. Another thing is just overall, it's easier to deal with people when they're self-aware. If somebody's self-aware, and that's what we're all moving towards, if you're listening to this podcast and doing work at home on yourself or whatnot, being vulnerable and speaking to things is the most important thing you can do. And if you're in a relationship with somebody and you can do that out loud about yourself, I think it helps the other person feel comfortable to be the same way with themselves. So if you're like, you know what, I noticed that I am, anxious and this and this and this, and I'm feeling these ways, and I'm feeling empty, and I'm feeling, disassociated, I'm feeling numb lately. So I'm looking for ways to work on myself or be in the present moment. Like just talking about yourself like that really does open up for people close to you to be like, I wonder how that relates to me, or like how I can do the same thing. So I think the best way you can help somebody is to talk vulnerably about your own process instead of tell them about them, because nobody likes to hear about them like that. They get defensive. So it's better to make it about you and let them connect the dots. And if they do connect the dots, it's good, and usually people want to connect the dots.
All right. Now, I don't want to dumb down this segment by talking about Beverly Hills Housewives, but it was put on the, we were on vacation, we're in the middle of the woods. It's night, not much to do. So we actually watched the Olympics. I never watched the Olympics. And then you also were putting on Beverly Hills Housewives. So I was like, all right, let me watch.
It's an excellent season.
It's wonderful. That Erica Jane seems like a great, fantastic, amazing, super person that doesn't lie at all. But anyway, you tell me who everyone was, and you said one was Kathy Hilton.
Right.
And, I do like the Hilton brand hotels, not an ad.
Right.
And, she seemed like a little kooky to me or whatever.
She is. Yeah, she's a delight this season.
Yes. And you introduced me to this other character, Sutton Strack or something like that.
Right.
And I think one of them is really authentic.
Right.
And I'm going to say Kathy. And the other one's not so authentic.
Right.
Inauthentic. Could you go through kind of that with the Kathy Hilton versus Sutton Strack, whatever?
Yeah, let's do that. So I think you came in right at the part where, because you don't watch the whole episode, where Kathy Hilton was saying that she doesn't remember where her homes were.
Yes.
And so what happens is sometimes, like talking like this is normal. Sometimes you have so many homes. I would just come into a place and I have to call the HOA and be like, can you tell me which home is my home? I don't know where my home is. I mean, it happens.
Look, it's happened to me only once. But,
yeah, like, where's my home? Okay. Yeah. So, it was just so but she's pink.
Okay.
Kathy Hilton is pink and yellow. And she's just authentically like that. Like it's hard. Like, yes, it's like such a dodo head thing to say out loud, especially when you don't know the audience or whatever. But I mean, honestly, there's just something about the way she said it. It wasn't really to me. Like you could tell, you could feel, because she's very authentic in herself. She didn't like that's her reality. Like she really does forget where her homes are.
So you're saying she wasn't like saying it to like
to hurt people's feelings.
Hurt people's feelings and make her feel better about herself.
Yeah, I think that just happens to her.
Happens.
But how do we know that? You know, like how do we know that? And she's kind of a popular she's a friend of the Housewives. She's kind of popular on the show, and I think because everybody kind of was like, that's so awful, but she's still funny. Like, what's she going to say next? You know, like that.
Yeah.
And and, you know, that's authentic, right?
Right.
But then there's Sutton Strack. I think that's how you say her name. And she's like new last year, so it's her second year.
Okay.
And she's yellow and purple. Now, she wears a lot of inauthentic blue. So if you watch the season, you know what I'm talking about. She's got a major victim mentality going on lately, and it's that inauthentic blue color. So what she's been doing is she's takes everything very personally and gets very upset. So what happened earlier on in the season is she told the new housewife, Crystal, who's Asian, she said, "Oh, I don't see color." And then, you know, Crystal is like, come on, please. Like, we don't say that anymore. Like, come on. Like, please. Yeah. And everybody got, like, really annoyed with her.
Right.
You know, because it's an annoying thing to say. And when they called her on it, instead of her being like, oh, my gosh, you're right. I'm sorry. Let me reevaluate how I said that or whatnot. She started crying. And she really took it, like, personal. Oh, my God, how could you say this? And she even went for so much as to say people with Southern accents are discriminated against, the same as like people of color, which everyone's like, whoa, like, you know, it was awful.
Right.
And this is like, and I think the viewers are like, man, there's something wrong with this woman. And that's like her inauthentic blue, because she's all like, I'm a victim. Da, 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 da.
Right.
Now, fast forward to last night's episode, Kathy Hilton at the dinner table said, oh, yeah, I don't see color. The same thing.
So she said the same thing.
She said the same thing.
Yeah.
No one flipping got mad at her. Garcelle, who's black, was like, well, she didn't mean it. Like, like no one got mad at her.
So, in essence, you could...
I think you can... It's hard, because, like, you know, it's like intention or whatever.
The intention behind it.
Like, you know, Kathy's just like, whatever. She just says things, you know, it's like she's harmless. I don't know. But when Sutton said it, because she's got that inauthentic color and she's making everything about herself, it's, like, annoying and irritating. That's kind of how it feels when you're wearing an inauthentic aura color. And people will come after you harder, too, because it's something about how you said it.
Yeah.
You know,
it's the intention behind it.
Yeah, it's like, wow, how'd you make this about you somehow? And I think, like, I don't know, it was funny to me.
It's like me. I say, like, dumb things all the time, inappropriate things, but nobody gets mad at me. Or maybe they do. Because my intentions are good. So that's, you know, whatever. All right. We got a couple ads, and then when we come back, we're going to do inauthentic colors as seen in the workplace.
Ooh, yes. Today we're talking about trauma, and I think all of us can relate to that a little bit. Well, BetterHelp can help you with some mental check-ins when you're dealing with your own stuff that comes up. You know, because whatever you need right now, therapy can help you. And what is therapy exactly? It's honestly whatever you need it, whatever you want it to be. You can get tools to help you with motivation, depression, anxiety, battling your temper, stress, dealing with insecurity in relationships or at work, whatever you need. You don't have to be ashamed of your normal human struggles. You can start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. I love meeting with my therapist. BetterHelp offers customized online therapy. There's video, phone, and live chat sessions. I do the phone. I like to talk on the phone to my therapist. She's helped me, given me lots of insight. She's helped me talk through things. It's just nice to have kind of like that third-party objective person who's there to help you. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. You can join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about. You can see if it's for you, because you are your greatest asset. I think sometimes we think we have to be a certain way to go to therapy, or we're going to have things to talk about, or we're going to have to, you know, maybe you just don't know what you want to talk about. Maybe you just want to sit there and just see what comes up. Your therapist is there for you to just do that. It's about you and what you need it to be. So this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Know Your Aura listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/KYA. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/KYA. The other day, well, back in May, actually, this is just a funny example. I went in for my vaccine to CVS, and, you can't leave CVS without like several things, and they're all like random items. So I'm grabbing my toothpaste, I got a smoothie, got some candy, and I go right up to the checkout, and what can I use? I can use my super easy touch-free payment with PayPal or Venmo, and you get $10 cash back on your first in-store QR code payment of $20 or more. And you can do this at CVS. And how fun and easy and convenient is that? Hey, Scotty, we use PayPal, right?
I use PayPal all the time. It's my go-to. I feel completely safe, secure with it. I can do everything on it. I'm on there all the time.
Yeah.
And for me, being a red, the most important thing to me is the safety and security. Mm-hmm. If I don't feel like an app or something like that is safe and secure, I'm never going to use it. But with PayPal, I truly always do.
Yeah. And you too can get $10 cash back off your first transaction of $20 or more. Just head over to your local CVS and pay using your PayPal or Venmo app. That's $10 cash back on your first purchase of $20 or more with the PayPal or Venmo app. To see terms and learn more about how to use and to earn that $10 cash back, go to paypal.com/KYA.
All right. So during the commercial break, again, someone slid into my DMs.
Oh, no.
This time it was a guy named Matt, and he said also, please say Jumanji a few more times. I need just one more Jumanji. So, Matt, this is for you, Jumanji. I don't think it's the Matt and Tyler we're thinking of, but you never know.
Hey, bro.
He did sign it, hey, bro. But, all right, so Inauthentic colors. You need a little comic relief. All right. Inauthentic colors seen in the workplace. So I'm going to give you a couple industries and kind of tell us, through all your teachings and all your readings, where you find the most inauthentic colors.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about this too. Like sometimes a job can give you an inauthentic color just to work there. You need one, and I just see so many in my readings. So go for it. What do you got?
So the first thing that comes to mind is like healthcare, so like nurses.
Yes.
So what do you see with that?
Yeah, so with nursing, it's hard to be indigo in nursing. So if, it's hard to go into it if you're not an empath at all. So I will always see blue and indigo nurses. But if you're indigo, I'll see you wear inauthentic blue. If you're blue already, you're wearing more of it. And sometimes I will see inauthentic yellow if you don't already have it. And I think that's just because of all the charts, they're real big on that and the paying attention to things and all the numbers and all the details that who even knows, but they do like that. So inauthentic blue and inauthentic yellow a lot with the nursing. If you're already a blue and yellow, not that your life's easier, nursing's like one of the hardest jobs in the whole world, but it might be, maybe you're more prepped for it.
Okay.
And
here, again, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but do you see like in the field of nursing and healthcare, more inauthentic colors than the average field, or no?
Yeah, no, because I really feel like in nursing, I'm not a nurse and I've never gone through nursing school, but I mean, they must filter that out. Like you must know pretty quick if it's not for you. I think that that's one of those jobs where you either can do it or you can't. And if you can't, you don't last.
Yeah.
It's just too hard to stay afloat. Like any nurse you see working has fought and tested hard to be there. Like it's too hard a job. Like I'll see like sometimes if you're a little hot mess, you can be a nurse if you're purple. But if you're a little too hot mess purple and then you start like messing up your charts and stuff like that, like immediately they'll just get rid of you. Like, or you'll get rid of yourself. It's just too hard. It's too hard to work if you don't have that mindset. And I think that it's a very rigorous job. So yeah, it's like a natural filtration system there. So you got to either get your inauthentic colors on quick or get out.
And especially during this time, nurses.
Oh, well, now this is a whole different thing. This is burnout.
Yeah.
This is just too much for any human to deal with. Yeah. Anybody. There is no color for now. There is no color for what post-COVID world.
Our nurses across the country are just killing it.
They're
especially
angels.
In the 5D. These people are angels.
These are God's hands.
Just crushing it in the 5D.
Yes.
Some of the housewives might be crushing it in the 3D, but you guys are crushing it in the 5D.
Absolutely.
All right. Second, I have corporate America.
Oh, man.
I think I could guess this one.
Yeah, okay.
I would inauthentic reds.
Sometimes if they're managers, if they're management, like sometimes they have to grab a red.
Yeah.
It's actually, this is funny. I just read somebody the other day and she's in the journalism world. Like she works for a TV station and stuff. And she's like super, super yellow naturally. But because all her bosses are red, she wears like an inauthentic red color on her. So it makes her like lead differently than she authentically would as a yellow, and is making her absolutely like nuts. Like she just feels crazy all the time.
Right.
Because she's trying to do something the way other people would do it versus how she would do it. So I will see inauthentic red sometimes, it depending on what field you're in. Like if you're in HR, there's like, if you're not already blue, you're wearing it inauthentically. A lot of inauthentic yellow, because there's a lot of like structure organizationally that if you're not already yellow, you're going to have to wear that to do it. So those are the colors I see.
Okay. Next one up. Other group that's killing it in the 5D, teachers.
And the 5D is the fifth dimension.
Yes.
That's like spiritual, like, I'm making that good karma, all that. Teachers. Oh my gosh. Yes. So teachers, I see a lot of people attracted to the teaching profession. A lot of different aura colors get attracted to the teaching profession. The problem is once you're there,
right?
Okay, there's this with me, there was an inauthentic yellow that settled in.
Right.
Sometimes with people, I'll see like an inauthentic blue settle in just because they do, depending on the politics in the building that you work in, if they don't leave you alone, you're going to adopt whatever the politics are. So if you have like an administration that's very like inauthentic yellow, you're going to get that. If you're going to have an administration that's very inauthentic blue or red, you're going to pick that up. So they definitely will kind of, if they're not left alone. So I'll see this more in elementary school teachers and middle school teachers because they're less left alone than like high school teachers. As you recall, They probably just left you alone a little bit more than they do like in elementary. You're always working with other people, other teachers, co-teaching, all this stuff. And, high school teachers don't really do that as much.
Okay. So, as people know that listen to the show, I was a teacher for a long time.
Yeah.
So you're saying I didn't have to wear an inauthentic color? I mean, I don't think I did.
You're just kind of miserable.
Is that probably why? Like, if I put on if I had the ability to wear an inauthentic color while I was teaching,
you would have lasted 2 seconds as an elementary teacher.
I might have been able to last longer.
No, I don't think so. It doesn't mean you're going to last longer. It just means like you get more numb. Like you were very present for your unhappiness.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like other people can try to hide away from it using their inauthentic colors. I hope this makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of like wearing a mask.
No, it makes sense because like I would go in and be like, how am I doing this today? I can't believe I have to do this again today.
Yeah, like you would literally tell that to the kids.
No, I know.
That's why they liked you so much.
Right.
But you're like, hey man, we don't want to be here either.
But then I couldn't
understand each other.
But then there were other people I couldn't understand how they're doing it, and they were fine with it.
Well, some people are fine with it.
Yeah,
and that's great.
All right, whatever.
No, some people are, but it's true.
Know.
The thing is like people can find joy in other ways. So like I'll see people like with wearing inauthentic colors. Like I can even think of people that you taught with.
Yeah.
And they would just...
Yeah, they were able to do it.
Like that one coworker of yours, like he really got into the girls' basketball. Like he was like really into that. That was his joy. That was his passion. He was able to take his inauthentic red and feel like power over something.
Yeah.
Like being in charge and being like the head coach guy. And and I saw like it was like a lot funneled into that. And then he worked with that other guy. He was really green.
Yeah.
And he was just like a slacker. Like the one who played hockey with you. Yeah. He was just like a slacker.
Yeah.
That one. And he was just wacky. And at some point, he was totally authentic. And thank God he was tenured. Because, like, what would have happened if he did that, or years earlier? So some people figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't. Some people do figure it out and they stick to it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I had moments, where I figured it out. But
yeah, you did.
For moments.
Did.
But I couldn't. It really was the monotony and the repetitiveness.
I know.
That got to me.
Yeah. Well, being a red, it's hard to not constantly have challenge.
Yeah.
And I think some aura colors, like maybe if you're blue, and yellow, maybe there's ways you can like, okay, like this year I'm going to try this teaching strategy and it's going to be really cool and I'm going to get into it. I saw like other teachers that I worked with, like they would try different strategies of teaching the same information. And I just was too purple for that. Like, I just don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, so they can kind of create an evolving situation for themselves where they're at. And some people have to move. Some people have to move their feet and some people can do it where they're at. And that's just, there's not right or wrong. It's just who you are.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah, it's really weird.
It's
imagine ninth grade, teaching ninth grade, 5 periods of ninth grade, the Mesopotamians to a bunch of ninth graders, like 5 times a day.
I know.
Like that, you go crazy.
You know what's weird? Now you're doing that with our oldest, like she comes home and she's just like, and you have to reteach it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's okay if I only had to do it one time a day.
Yeah,
I would've been okay
like in
with
the
it.
teaching movies.
Right, in the teaching movies.
Yeah, you guys, like in the teaching movies, they lie. Like there's one period, the bell goes off randomly. Like when the bell's going to go off. It's always like cutting the teacher off. And it's like one day. That's it. Like Dangerous Minds. So she has like one class.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
No, she would have 5 classes of that same horrible class.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Right. You got to do those tricks 5 times.
You got to do that 5 times. You got to be like, you have a choice 5 times.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Don't even get us over here on our co-red ranting about teacher movies.
Yeah. All right. Next, I have the tech industry.
Okay. So if you work in tech at all and you're not green, you're going to get some. I'm even saying like at Best Buy, okay?
Okay.
Like even like if you're working at the Best Buy customer service and like old ladies are like, I don't know how to turn, and you just like, you didn't plug it in, ma'am, or whatever. Like you got a little bit of green on you and authentically. And then if you work in an actual like tech industry or you're like working in tech or you're talking about something, even engineer or mechanical or something like that, you're going to get the green on you. So like, my friend's husband, he works for the Department of Transportation. Like, he wears an inauthentic green, but he fixes snowplows all day. So, like, obviously, like, it's going to be there on him his whole life, So, yeah, so if you work with things like that, you're going to get a green on you.
Yeah, you work at Best Buy, there's no way you can't have green.
There's a green. Yeah. Or anything with, like, you're talking about stuff like that, you're going to get a green on you.
Yes, and if you do need someone to cut your cords, because, there's a spell on you or some weird thing, go to Best Buy. They'll do it for you.
Yeah.
All right. Next one, customer service. So I'm thinking like waiters, waitresses, people that are working with people hands-on. They're kind of they're serving people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about waiters and waitresses?
Well, waiters and waitresses, I don't know if, I would say it's a purple job in general. I'm going to say like if you're a waiter or waitress, like you have some purple in you. Like somewhere. Not everybody, but I would say a vast majority, because I think like, and that's different than customer service, like in, I don't know, hospitality industry or something like that. I feel like being a waiter, waitress, a server, like you have to deal with chaos, and purples can deal with that pretty well. So like all of a sudden everything's quiet. The next moment, like you have 10 tables at the same time. Like you got to be purple to deal with that. Otherwise you're not going to, you might freak out or something. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. So I feel like a lot of yellows can't do it long term because it's like too crazy. So I will see a lot of purple serving people. But then in like if you're talking about customer service, like when you call somebody and they pick up the phone, like for
that too.
Anything, that's more blue.
That's more blue.
Yeah, you have to be more blue with that.
And what would the waiter what would be inauthentic? So you see them as purple? Is that inauthentic purple, or is that just?
It's really hard
purple?
to wear an inauthentic purple. It's really hard.
Oh,
some people do. Maybe when you're younger, like you might go through like a phase. Like, but it usually drops off if you're not actually purple.
Okay.
Would
they have to wear an inauthentic yellow to like get the order right and things like that? Or no?
I think I would say purple's the only cohesive thing I can see, but I don't really know if there's an inauthentic color thing with servers, except that maybe blue's like your go-to one if they feel stuck or whatever. If they're not already blue, they might wear it.
All right.
Yeah.
And my last one, ever since I quit teaching, and the listeners know, I've become an international sex symbol.
Oh, yeah.
And major influencer. I just want to know, do I have any inauthentic colors since I'm, in that spotlight?
I'm so glad you mentioned this. Actually, Instagram influencers, there's so much inauthentic yellow happening. Like, they're all trying to be yellow, and it drives me insane. Like, it's like you can tell an actual yellow person because it doesn't rub you wrong versus like an inauthentic yellow person.
Right.
Where they're like trying to make their grid like perfectly color-coded or whatever. And you're just like, I know you're trying too hard, to do this, because I feel like influencer life just is better suited for yellows and the kind of the stereotypical way you can see it happen. But there's so many people trying to be inauthentic yellow.
Yeah. If you ever looked at Petro Honchar's Instagram, he's really yellowed it out.
I feel like he's purple and
he's
red.
Purple. Yeah, he's purple red. But it looked like, go to his Instagram, Petro Honchar, and it's going to be yellow.
I just picture Petro Honchar's Instagram like a lot of club lighting, like all the time. Like him with different club lights in different clubs, VIP rope, behind the velvet rope.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. One more time for Matt and Tyler. Jumanji. We got 2 more ads, and then we'll get into it.
Okay. I talk about Skillshare a lot on here, and right now my daughter and I are doing a class together, which we're really enjoying. What is Skillshare? Skillshare is an online learning community that offers membership with meaning. There's tons to explore, there's real projects you can create, and there's real support of fellow creatives. Skillshare empowers you to accomplish real growth. I always like to try new things. And right now, my daughter and I are doing a class on Skillshare together called Lettering for Self-Expression, Create Stunning Handcrafted Type with a Day Hogue. We like to try new things. I'm not very good at it. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be very good at it. It's fun. And it makes me think outside the box. And it's just something new for me to try. You know, you have to try new things to evolve and grow. And Skillshare is just this easy way you can do this at home. Whether you're a dabbler or a pro, I'm totally a dabbler, you know, a hobbyist or a master, you're creative. We're all creative. You got to tap back into that. Discover what you can make with classes for every skill level. Experience real improvement with hands-on projects and classes designed for real life. Skillshare is incredibly affordable, especially when compared to pricey in-person classes and workshops. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month. These classes are in digestible little portions, little lessons, a little bit at a time. And when you're all done, you know something new, and it didn't take that much of your life up, you know, but you got so much out of it. So explore your creativity today at Skillshare.com/KYA and get 1 month free trial of premium membership. That's 1 month of a premium membership at Skillshare.com/KYA. You know, you want to do your part for the planet. And, you know, when people think like eco-friendly cleaning products are probably more expensive and less effective, like you have to sacrifice something when it comes to cleaning, you know, that's not true with Blue Land. Blue Land has fixed all of that with its revolutionary refill tablets. Blue Land was founded on the belief that a cleaner planet starts at home. It's a simple idea. You buy this beautiful bottle once and you refill it forever. There's no more plastic waste. Just fill Blue Land's beautiful, Instagrammable, I mean, these things are gorgeous. I keep them out, actually. They're so pretty. Bottles with warm water. Pop in one of the hand soap or spray cleaner tablets, and within minutes you have a very powerful and very effective cleaning product in the most incredible sense, like rose bergamot and lily mint. Blue Land also has a convenient laundry and dishwasher tabs that come in chic and compact refillable metal containers instead of big, bulky, disposable plastic tubs. Blue Land's stunning, high-quality forever bottles start at just $10 when you buy a kit and are meant to be reused forever with money-saving refill tablets that start at just $2. So you can cut the plastic waste and you do not have to sacrifice clean. Get Blue Land. You'll absolutely love it like I do, and the planet will thank you. It feels so nice to actually be able to clean my house in a way that's honestly more effective than the stuff I get at the store traditionally. And it's just easy refill tablets. It comes right to my house. I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's like they figured out how to do the right thing and not really have to sacrifice for it at all. So right now you can get 15% off your first order when you go to blueland.com/KYA. That's 15% off your first order of any products Blue Land orders at blueland.com/KYA. That's blueland.com/KYA. Okay, let's talk about trauma and inauthentic aura colors. Today, I wanted to talk about inauthentic aura colors in relation to trauma. You've heard me talk about inauthentic aura colors before, early on in the podcast, episode 30, if you want to listen to that around minute 20. I talk about overall what they are, and I talk about specifics, and I talk about the general overview, and also what each inauthentic aura color means. So if you want to listen to that, if you haven't, you can. But today I wanted to talk specifically about how inauthentic aura colors relate to trauma, because it's a little different and it's a little more, 2.0 learning here. Okay, so first of all, let's recap. What is an inauthentic aura color? So I started calling it this. I've been seeing aura colors my whole life, as a lot of you know my story. I didn't know what they were good for until I started teaching. And I was like, oh, each aura color means, okay, how they learn, how each aura color learns. And then it got deeper and deeper. And then I noticed, especially when I started looking at the parents of these kids, because kids don't usually wear inauthentic aura colors, but the parents sure did. I'm like, why is this different? And what is this? And it looks like a bad patch job if you're painting a wall. So let's say you're like me and you don't feel like repainting a whole wall. Sometimes you come around with a little, extra paint and you just like patch over the parts that need to be repainted instead of doing the whole thing. That's what inauthentic aura colors are on your aura. You had to get through something. You needed kind of something, a quick fix. You didn't have the time to paint the whole aura the right color authentically, so you put up a patch job. Overall, in general, what I realized was when I saw this is that a lot of us, because of what we're going through, we don't have the time to sit there and analyze and do the work of, okay, who am I really versus who am I trying to be? And so we just patch on an inauthentic aura color to get through. When this is linked to trauma, it's a little different than just, mom told you this about mom told you were messy your whole life. So you started being extra organized and you're kind of like purple shamed. So you're wearing inauthentic yellow. It's different than that. It's more about like something horrific happened to you and you had to patch something on to survive it and you don't know how to take it off. That's what we're talking about today. So when I started seeing inauthentic aura colors on people, I started just, realizing it was 4 different reasons at the same time. And how does it affect somebody's life is the big question. So when you're wearing an inauthentic aura color, you don't feel exactly correct. You can feel numb, or you can feel anxious. You can feel not right. You can feel like everything you're doing is going through the motions. You can feel disconnected from yourself or your present moment. It's always easier to look at ourselves in work or in job situations. A lot of us tend to wear inauthentic aura colors at work. When I was teaching, I would look in the mirror, I'm purple indigo, but I would see an inauthentic yellow color. And let me tell you, I was absolutely crazy about lesson planning. My lessons were done a full year in advance. I had photocopies, any sort of organizational materials I needed 3-4 weeks ahead of time. I was absolutely nuts. If I wasn't planned for the, 31st day ahead of where I was, I felt totally unsuccessful. That's not how authentic yellow people are, but that's what wearing an inauthentic yellow looks like. So I burned out really quick. So that's something that I was wearing at work, so that's what it feels like. That's what it looks like. But trauma creates inauthentic aura colors too. And here's some reasons I want to go through these where trauma can create inauthentic aura colors versus just, okay, society builds us a certain way and we don't always fit in. So we put on an energy to try to fit in. Like I did when I was working, I tried to fit in. I tried to be more organized than I was naturally. And so I got stuck with it. This is more about trauma. So the first one I'll see with people is childhood trauma. This is something like with abuse, neglect, homelessness, major financial instability. I'll see people wearing certain aura colors that aren't theirs, but got stuck on them in childhood. Okay, perhaps they were horrifically abused, or they just didn't know where their next meal was coming from. There's a hardness that can come from that. There's an armor. Sometimes I'll see kids wearing red from growing up like that, like empath kids wearing red because of that. It's actually Rihanna. I just talked about this recently. Rihanna's boyfriend. What is it, ASAP? But the S is like a $, ASAP, ASAP. Anyways, he wears an inauthentic red. Because when I was looking at them, like, man, he's actually purple and blue, but he wears such an inauthentic red. And then when I looked into his childhood, the guy had like significant trauma growing up. That's a lot like what we're talking about here. And I just don't know if it's ever going to go away on him. I feel like he's aware of it, but it's kind of like putting down a shield that got you through so much. It's kind of like dropping the life vest after you get off the sinking ship. It was so necessary for his life, that inauthentic red color. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to drop it, but sometimes in trauma situations, if you have an inauthentic aura color, you don't always get to drop it. It's something that is stuck on you like forever. You can be aware of it. You can understand it. You can know how it is, that shield or that life vest and how it helped you. You can know that, but sometimes it's hard to drop it. And I want to explain my auras and accents theory that I came up with myself. So I hope I'm not jumping around too much. So back to it's hard to drop a color that was put on you so early on in childhood that was inauthentic yet necessary. Same thing with learning a language. So they say, and just learning, going from my bachelor's and master's in language acquisition, if you learn a language, so some of you who are bilingual will understand this. If you learn a language before puberty, really, before the age of 12-ish, if you, let's say, you grew up speaking, I don't know, fluent Spanish, you're 8 years old, you move to the States, they throw you in second grade, and today you're speaking it, you speak English fluently, you speak Spanish fluently, okay? Because you learned it before kind of a critical age, a critical period for your brain. It's the same thing I see with auras. If you get some sort of an inauthentic color stuck on you before a critical age, it might be hard to get rid of it. It might be hard to get rid of it forever. It doesn't mean it's and it's not as awful actually as wearing one when you're older, I have to say, if you're 30 and you pick one up versus if you're 8 and you pick one up, because there's more of a possibility you can kind of, just like if you're bilingual, you can code switch. If you're bilingual, you can kind of energy switch easier if you learn it when you're a kid. And I hope that makes sense. And I find it fascinating. And it's just another testimony to how kids are just more flexible and adaptable to even the energy that they have to pick. So when I look at ASAP Rocky, Rihanna's boyfriend, when I look at him, he has that ability. I feel like he's aware of it and he can turn it off when he's with her. And when he goes out in the world, he's got to do things for himself or fight for his business or fight what he's got to do. I feel like he puts it back on. And I don't know if he's ever going to be able to get rid of it, but I feel like he knows it in his own way. Okay, another way you can, get inauthentic auras related to trauma is childhood expectations. Now, this is something that probably a lot of us have endured. I'm talking about the extreme ones. Because like I said, usually a lot of kids don't wear inauthentic aura colors unless it's extreme. But it can happen, or I don't know, at a certain age, by the time you're 18 or whatever, it's just whatever, you have it. But anyway, so this is expectations. So maybe, for example, with the Olympics, okay, I see a lot of these kids that are younger, the gymnasts and whatever, they're wearing a lot of inauthentic aura colors. Simone Biles, the girl's wearing inauthentic red, okay? And she's an elite athlete, so it's very possible that and she's had a lot of trauma, with her abuse and then what happened to her as a child and whatnot. So, and then with the elite athlete situation, that red is just necessary to her. So I'll see that be great, perform, clear the mechanism, get out there, do your thing. Nothing else is important except this moment. I can see. And then when I was just watching the Olympics, just all the athletes, it's really hard to tell what their aura colors are because it's a mix of yellows and blues and reds. There's not a lot of room for purples. There's not a lot of room. Even for greens, it's this almost competitive, focused, rage inside of them that you can't succeed without it in that world. So I'll see that. Be great, be excellent, be tough, that kind of stuff. Those ideals can create inauthentic aura colors on young people, and then it's hard for them to shake it. Compensating for what parents couldn't be or do. Man, children of addicts. If you're a child of an addict, you probably definitely have an inauthentic aura color, and it might be yellow. Because I will see, and with a lot of my clients, they were the ones at 3 years old making dinner for their 2-year-old sibling. oh yeah, that happens. And that might have been you. Okay. Like I'll see the 12-year-old oldest getting all their siblings ready for school, getting them to the bus. I mean, it's amazing with, getting dinner on the table, taking care of this person, putting this person to bed, like they become parental sometimes. So even if the mother or father who was the addict, came to and they got help, and it's hard to shake that as you get older. So I'll see a lot of kids who had to compensate for what mom or dad couldn't do, getting an inauthentic aura color. And usually it's because they had to self-nurture and usually nurture other children in the household. Culture and background. Okay, so I talk about this a lot. For example, like, boys, I'll see a lot of yellow boys, but not a lot of yellow men. I'll see a lot of green girls, but not a lot of green women. I've talked about that an awful lot. I talk about how it's harder to be sometimes a red girl than it is a red boy. Just because society conditions us to be a certain way. It's easier to be a red or green guy than it is to be a purple blue guy, than it is to be a yellow blue guy. It's easier to be a purple yellow woman, or than it is to be a red blue woman sometimes. And I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that like it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it's harder sometimes for those aura colors. If you don't have the right conditioning at home, sometimes too, to kind of like flourish without more of a struggle. So I will see obviously society, latching on to gender roles and then that affecting like your aura. And I think I've also talked about this, in like the Aura Kids episode and the ancestral trauma episode. Like when I look at pictures of children, for example, from like, I don't know, as long as there have been pictures, I can see auras. I can't see before that. So paintings and stuff, I can't see aura colors in. But like when I look at photos from like whenever we have photos like 100 years ago or whatever, there's no like pink children. There's not a lot of purple kids either. It's a lot of blue. It's a lot of blue and it's a lot of green and it's yellow. And that's kind of it. And it's kind of sad, so at least now I'm seeing kids with like more colors, which means like we're allowing them to be more themselves. But, society and culture and the times definitely affects aura colors. So it's wonderful we're living in such a time where even though there's a lot of conflict and even though there's like, a lot going on, at least there's a variety. At least there's an acknowledgement of variety so that we can be more ourselves and we can teach our children to be more of themselves. But yeah, so culture and background, parts of the world and parts of the country even, they have different vibes. They have different kind of like aura stuff. So for example, in the Midwest, I'll see a lot more, it's more encouraged to be yellow. New York City, it's more encouraged to be red. Different parts of the world, like again, just because the Olympics were on, different cultures and whatnot, you can see it's like, okay, that's more blue, or they're pushing their people to be more green or whatever. So it's like when I look at like a lot of the Russian athletes, I get a lot of red vibes. There's just a lot of conditioning to be, I guess, like stoic or something. So I feel like tough, endure, that kind of mentality. So depending on what culture you look at, that can influence you too. I'm sure a lot of you that grew up in Asian households, Black households, it's kind of like or Spanish. Sometimes there's different, I don't know, I call them flavors. It's different kind of flavors because the cultures have their kind of like influence of themselves. For example, I'll read a lot of like, Spanish people, and there's a big thing with like men being really macho, and they're all born what they are, but there's just this kind of edge, like, oh no, got to be more macho, and so like sometimes I'll see those guys wear a little inauthentic red if they're not already red. So it's just something that we put on our kids, and culturals, they do have an influence. It'd be weird if it didn't, right? And I want to talk about racism too, because, and I'm not saying I understand what people who are discriminated against go through, like at all. I'm just telling you what I see in aura color. Okay. So a lot of times, for example, I'll see Black people wear inauthentic blue to be invisible. I think all the time how being an empath and being a minority in this country must be absolutely, I can't even imagine. Like, because I'm an empath, but I'm like white, so I can get very invisible about it. But if you're like black or, you're AAIP or something, like that's not, I'm sorry, AAPI, there's no way you're going to blend in and then be able to like not hear the thoughts and feelings of other people. So what do they try to do? A lot of them I will see wear inauthentic blue. Let me be invisible. Let me blend in. Let me be quiet. Let me not stand out. My friend, she's Asian, and we were just talking. We were just like walking together, and she's just like telling me just this incident where, I don't know, like anybody, she wanted to like go to customer service at Target to just explain that they got something wrong, but how much stress she had. And this is her quote. She said, I didn't want to look like the crazy Asian angry lady. And you forget when you're friends with somebody sometimes that they go through this stuff because you just see them as a person, and like I have that luxury not to like live my life that way, but she doesn't. Man, I'm like, oh, it sucks, And so, she's actually authentically a red person too. She's actually has an authentic red aura, and she can't go be herself. Any red person's going to be like, hey, you messed up, please fix it, thank you. Like, she is nervous about being that way because she knows she's going to hear their thoughts and feelings and judgments about and just make it about her culture. So what does she do? She wears a lot of inauthentic blue instead of being her red purple self. And man, that sucks, but again, that's what the culture can do with your aura. It can create inauthentic colors on you to compensate for just like the world as it is. Socioeconomic, just kind of being, I think when you grow up in a certain socioeconomic situation, there's a lot of shame. So I'll see people who grew up like without a lot or grew up very poor, as they kind of like come into their own a little bit. Sometimes they can act different ways. One, they can be extremely flashy cashy. So they're going to be a little more purple maybe than they may want to be, or a little more red or something. So they can be a little bit more like, ooh, all right, here I am. I got it. I got to spend it because I'm so sick of people knowing I don't have it and judging me. So I'm going to like come out with it like that a little bit. So that can kind of cause an inauthentic burst of color that might get you in trouble when it's not even you. It's just you trying to compensate for what you used to be or something. Or I'll see people who still struggle with it and now they're okay. And they have such this need to be invisible or like put it away or have fear. And that can create like inauthentic green sometimes, like a intense frugality that's not supposed to be there. So yeah, so that can happen too. And also, like I said, the time period born. Your grandparents didn't have the opportunities like you have to be more authentic, and hopefully your children have to be even more authentic, hopefully. And then just depending on where you're born, like we're very lucky to live, if you're listening, in a country where you have rights and, the government like looks at you and sees you as a person. We're very fortunate. But different countries, like when I look at on the news, like North Korea or something, like it's like a lot of blue. It's a lot of inauthentic blue. It's a lot of just be invisible, blend in, don't do anything, don't make any noise. So we're lucky that we get to live here, because like if you were in a country where that wasn't the case, your aura is gonna be inauthentic. It's gonna try to create a survival situation for you. Okay. When you notice you have an inauthentic aura color and it's due to like trauma, the first thing that can happen is it can be really stressful. It's kind of like losing your security blanket. Your whole life's been built up around that. It was your life vest. It was something that you might not be able to get rid of. It might be something you might have to come to terms with and see as just a part of you now that you have to constantly kind of like move over before you go make any decision or choice. So your whole life is, every relationship you have, every job you took, every decision you made was based off of an inauthentic aura color or like a fear-based mindset. And your ego has built up with the whole thing. Like, hey, if you don't follow that, like we built up this whole way for you to survive. If you don't keep in line with that, your brain, your ego talks to your brain, and then you feel like you're going to die. So it's like a lot of panic attacks. It's a lot of anxiety. It's a lot of mental health stuff going on. I mean, you need therapy when you're getting rid of an inauthentic aura color. You need spiritual work. You need journal. You need all the things when you're getting rid of it. It's really hard to go through it without support. Because you have always thought, oh my God, this is who I am. And all of a sudden you're like, maybe that's not who I am. I always just thought that was me. And right there, when you have that realization about yourself, it's like your world crashes down. And the other thing is everyone in your life expects you to be that way. So when all of a sudden you're not acting the way that they thought, they come after you too. Like, who are you? Why have you changed? I mean, the wrong people say that. The right people say, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. You've gotten so confident. Like I'm excited for you. You make me happy. You make me inspired to do the same thing. That's what you hear from the right people. From the wrong people, you hear like, you've changed. You're cold, or you're this, or you're that, or basically because they're not used to you and they liked you the way that you were inauthentically. So when you start changing, they never liked you for you anyways. They liked you because how you made them feel. So you got to get rid of those people, but they'll notice. So when you get rid of an inauthentic aura color, and you're honest about like, hey, I went through this trauma, this is how I've dealt with it. These are my issues. You're going to see who your friends are. And finally, relationships will change. You're married, you're dropping in an authentic aura color, you're coming to terms with why you had it. Yeah, you have to be open and honest about this and super vulnerable, but you really usually have no choice to be but that. But the more, honest you are and communicative you are, you'll see how your significant other responds. You'll see how your kids respond. You'll see how your parents respond. You'll see how your siblings respond. It's going to change the dynamics of relationships. It's going to trigger a lot of people, because they're going to feel their itchiness with their inauthentic aura colors itching up against them, their souls crying out to change, and either they're going to follow that or they're going to shut it down. So when is an inauthentic aura color probably staying? I talked about A$AP Rocky. He was like my big, but a lot of you, I think, understand that. Entrepreneurs, I'll see sometimes like green guys and green women, and they built some sort of really cool green conceptual business, which, we never understand, but they're cool. Like some sort of like whatever. They're doing their thing, their company or their business or whatever they've done. But they have to deal with billing and clients and employees and red people stuff. So I'll see it sometimes green people who came up with this amazing vision for a company wear inauthentic red because they're also dealing with day-to-day entrepreneur like business stuff that more red people are suited for. So I'll see them wear inauthentic red. Then it's hard to get rid of it because you need to kind of have your finger in both pies there. But it's something that sometimes you'll wear it like sunglasses. Like, okay, when I have to see what's going on, I put on my glasses. And when I don't need it anymore, I'll take them off. So I think awareness helps when an inauthentic aura color isn't going away. And you have to see it as like a tool or a hat, or like I said, like sunglasses, where you can separate yourself from the acts it involves and finding something authentic within the inauthentic things. For example, let's say you're a blue or an indigo and you're, more empath. You don't really like to tell people what to do, but now you're in a leadership position at work, which can be stressful because you feel other people's feelings as your own all the time. So then telling them what to do and telling them when they did something wrong and calling them in for meetings and this and that can be extremely detrimental to your mental health. So how do you do it? If you can't quit the job, how do you do it? You have to find the authentic things within it. So you have to say to yourself, okay, even though I don't like leading, I can't lead the way other people lead. I got to lead the way I lead. So then you start getting honest about it. How do you feel today? This is what I'm telling you. This is uncomfortable for me to say, but I want you to know this isn't personal. This is about you. I really appreciate all these things that you do, and we're just going to work together on these things that we have to change. So you have to do things like, okay, I'm helping this person grow in our company, or I'm helping them understand things about themselves, or I'm going to hold their hand while I tell them how to do, you have to find maybe in your empath way how to be a leader where it's helping them, because that's your authentic way to do things anyways. So you have to find like authentic pathways through the inauthentic things that you're doing, if that makes sense. Not everything has to be done the way other people do it. You got to find your own ways to doing them. So Yeah, another thing is, like, sometimes I'll see inauthentic aura colors and it's never going away. And I've said this before, like, and I mentioned it with the Olympic sports. That's one. Another thing, like army, military. Sometimes, though, like if you stick and I wanted, because we have a lot of military people, and who listen or who are related or to somebody in the military or married or something like that. This is the thing. We're so grateful for the people that choose to serve for our country. I mean, it's a selfless act. And yes, it's such a selfless act. So who do you think they get a lot of? I see a lot of purple, blue people joining the military because they're purple. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a direction right now, but I really want to do something bigger than myself. I really want to help a greater cause. I really want to feel like I'm making a difference. I really want to know people in a really close way and work together with them on something. That's the purple blue stuff. So they get a lot of purple blue people joining the military, but then they infuse a red on them because you have to. It's the only way the place works. It's an institution and you need that. Otherwise, we can't have purple people running the military. Okay. It's just not going to work. So like they use the red comes in. And so I'll see a lot of people when they're kind of, all right, I'm done with this military thing. I've been in like 15 years. Like they don't know. They got to start at square one because they never figured out themselves as their authentic blue purple self. And now they're wearing this inauthentic red. They've been so deeply conditioned that they're never going to get rid of that. Like once you're in the military, some things just stick, and now they have to kind of work with all of that. So it's very ingrained. It's very fiercely ingrained. And it's something I see a lot of. And it's something that you have to at least acknowledge that little military hat or that color isn't going anywhere and you still have to move forward in spite of it. But you're starting at square one. You're kind of starting at whatever age you entered at, like whatever age that was, going back there and trying to find yourself with all the things that are more, I guess, okay, in quotation marks, when you're young. Tried this job, I tried this job, I tried this one, and then I tried this one. You got to probably do that, but maybe you're 40 now. And it's not as socially acceptable. And then you can get mad at yourself. But really, that's normal. You have to go back to square one. That's the other for anybody. When you drop an inauthentic aura color, you got to go from square one. When I dropped my inauthentic yellow, I had to go back to square one. I didn't know what I was doing. It took me time to get into the aura reading thing, okay, the psychic medium thing. I took some time. And I tried a lot of different weird, I babysat. I did like nothing. It was weird for a while. I had to go back to that age when I should have tried a bunch of different things and I didn't. So I did it. Okay. When you drop an inauthentic aura color, you can feel empty. It's a friend, you can feel messy. You can feel like there's a hole you don't know what to fill it with. You can feel lost, scattered, loss of self, numb. It's an ego death. Last episode, when I talked about ego death, it's like it is an ego death when you lose it because it's a part of you that is artificial yet was necessary for a long time and you thought it was you. So when it goes away, you have to redefine who you are. What does life look like after you drop your inauthentic aura color? It's free. It's very freeing. It's very open. It's very vast. It's very vulnerable. A lot of you might be in that space right now, but it's freedom. And you have to just try a lot of different things on in order to kind of feel your way out of it and see who you really are and stretch those legs that weren't really used for many years in order to walk where you're supposed to go. The whole thing with wearing an inauthentic aura color, it stunted your authentic aura growth. So when you take it off, you have to relearn yourself. Just like if somebody didn't walk for years and they had to learn how to walk again, that's what you're doing. But with your energy, so you got to try the different things. You got to meet the new people. You got to do the new stuff. Just like all the things we talk about on here, you got to just try new things and just get little bursts of inspiration as you go. And every time you feel that little burst of inspiration, that's you. That's you connecting to you and what's greater than you. And that right there is the payment. And it's worth it. I want to hear your stories about how you felt when you kind of freed yourself from who you thought you were and were reborn into who you actually are. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. All right. So I actually have one more question. So I think you usually say that people should have 2 aura colors.
Yeah, usually you're authentically 2. Sometimes you're authentically 3. Right.
Okay. So some people are 3 colors, but most people are
2.
2. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're tries. So I had this person had a question on the Miss Michaela Spiritual Family, Emily, and I just wanted to read it and maybe just get a little clarification.
Okay.
If people are wondering about it. She writes, "Hey there, hopeful new friends. I'm so curious as to how many others suspect or are confirmed they have 4 or more colors. What is your combination, and do you feel as overwhelmed and confused as I do to all the time? I've been secretly hunting for the answer to this question for a few weeks and finally feel the courage to ask outwardly after seeing someone else's inquiry in a comment. I was quickly confirmed to be a turquoise with a lot of other colors in quotes." So you're basically saying that usually people are 2 or 3. So what if someone thinks they're like 4 colors?
Well, she's a turquoise.
Yeah.
So turquoise is, especially when you don't have a grasp on what that is, especially when you're kind of new to your turquoise journey.
Okay.
You absorb a lot of other things. It's harder for turquoises to know who they are versus who they're picking up. It's just harder for them. They have the least amount of boundaries that way.
Right.
So if she's saying she was confirmed as turquoise by me, and if it was a quick reading, I'm just like, you're turquoise, and like you're holding on a lot of different colors, without a full reading. She's probably like, oh my gosh, like, so what does that mean? Or so the stuff I'm absorbing is me or isn't? So really what it is you can be turquoise or sometimes indigo or sometimes blue, like those kind of blue colors, and you can feel a lot of other people's stuff all the time. The work is now making the distinction. It's differentiating other people's stuff from yours. That's the work. So so if you feel somebody else's stuff and your whole life you were conditioned to take that as reality and you never separated it from your own stuff, that's going to take some time to sift through. That is the work. Like that is what we're doing here. That's like a lifetime's journey, honestly. So that's why I always say, like, sometimes you have to sit with yourself several times a day. It's like my 3-word journal. 3 times a day, 3 words. How do I feel? That's it. Like, sit down, I feel anxious, nervous, tired. Why am I nervous? You know what I mean? Well, I just had this conversation with my coworker. Is this her stuff I'm getting, or is that my stuff? Did I feel her wanting me to do something for her that was inferred, not said, and now I'm acting on that? See, you have to sit there and be like, whoa, what's mine versus what do I do because other people want me to? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So she's probably stuck in that right now.
Is that different than the colors being inauthentic then?
Yes.
That's different.
Yeah, that's just empath stuff.
Yeah.
And that's like my whole like basis of a lot of this. As an empath, when I talk about the recovering empath, especially when you're unaware in the beginning of your journey, your whole life you've been conditioned to take other people's stuff and think it's you. So you become the people pleaser, you become, kind of malleable, or everything you do is for other people because you borrow their satisfaction or you borrow their feelings and you replace them instead of your own. So it's kind of like getting in touch with that and being like, hey, wait a second. Something very simple, like hey, where are we going to dinner tonight? I don't care. Where do you want to go to dinner? Well, I want to go to this pizza place. And you're like, okay. And then just take that minute and be like, do I really? I mean, this sounds simple, but this is where you got to start. Do I really want to go to there? Or am I just saying that because I want what they want more than what I would want?
Right.
And you can still go to the place that you're going to go, but at least be real with yourself in that very tiny moment. And it's funny how it's something, because we can start simple like that, like very simple like that, and then you can spread it out too. Okay, I just took over this project at work. Did I want to, or did I feel like I had to because this person was insecure or whatever? Little things like that. That's the bigger macrocosm of the micros. So just taking, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense.
All right. Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I learned actually a lot today.
Yeah. But then sometimes too, bluedigos, for example, so we came up with the term.
You came up with that.
I came up with the term bluedigo, kind of like that mushing of blue plus indigo.
Yeah.
That's one color. Like some of us have this ability to kind of go back and forth, but that's natural to us. Sometimes we're blue, sometimes we're indigo, because, those two colors do overlap a lot. And some of us just naturally go back and forth on the scale there, the spectrum between the two. And that's fine. That's normal for them if that's what you are.
So if you told someone you're yellow and blue to go.
You're not 3 colors.
You're not 3 colors.
Yeah, you're yellow
2 colors.
and blue to go.
Yellow and blue to go.
Yeah, and you fluctuate. People, we're complicated. Like, I'd love if we could just check off boxes, but would I love that? Like, every single one of you is so unique, you know? And that's why, like, with the colors, like, this is just, like we always say on here, it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what anybody says about you. It matters the journey you take within. So when she's confused about, does anybody feel confused that there might be 4 colors? It's really not about that. It's like, hey, let's start with your confusion.
Yeah.
What is that about? Let's jump into you, you know, and be like, okay, why am I confused? When am I confused? How does that feel? When does that get triggered? And how does maybe an expectation of I'm supposed to know who I am and these colors are triggering it, you know, where is that expectation coming from that you're supposed to label yourself? Because turquoises really have a hard, you know, maybe they can't be labeled, you know, that's part of their gift, like, you know, being who they are. Right. Labelless.
All right, that's fantastic.
Okay, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes 100%.
Sometimes I talk and I don't know if any of this makes sense. I hope this whole episode made sense. This is like Aura honors. Yes. Honors Aura episode.
This was definitely deep. Definitely much deeper.
If you go deep in Auras, this episode is for you.
Okay. And the one thing I know that I can do now is I am going to get Petro Hanchar to shed his inauthentic yellow.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Good project. Thanks, everybody. You know, this podcast is for you and about you. I'm so happy that you're here and spending time with us today. Take care.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing while you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. And then we cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy podcast on your podcast app.